Hey, somebody order an Asdfmovie ranking?
I did.
Well, too bad! Said me back in 2022 after doing a part 1 of this and never returning to it.
I can explain.
Ho, ho, ho. I bring gifts and a big ol' sack. Yep, that's how I'm starting the video. So all the way back at the start of 2022, holy shit, we're all gonna die. I started on a project of ranking every entry in the Asdfmovie series with a nifty little point of how connected we can all be by the things we're nostalgic for and how they shape our lives and things like our humour. I split it into multiple parts since because of my upload schedule I would struggle to get big videos out, and I never even got the rest of the small videos out. Yet since then, that video's gained quite a bit of interest. It's still growing in views, I'm still getting comments on it, which I really appreciate, thank you. I'm also getting critique on it about the intro, in which I make the central point being way too long, and honestly, yeah, I hear ya. Look, I'm a YouTuber, but I'm not a professional one. I like to yap, okay? My mind's a weird place, it has a lot of pointless shit in it. And you know what? It's Christmas, and I'm a man of giving, so I'm finally revisiting this thing. We'll obviously get to the rankings soon, but first I've got a lot to say about Asdfmovie and its impact, both on me and the world at large, so. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a remastered version of that first video in which I rank the first 4 Asdfmovies and then add it onto my rankings for all the following Asdfmovies up to the present day. And if you've already seen that and want to skip to the new stuff, or just want to skip my big ol' ramble because you don't want to listen to a rando online get all deep and philosophical about a goofy stickman webtoon, okay, fair, but it sounds like a good time to me, I mean. Then I'll be including timestamps so you can skip right to the stuff you want to hear. Thanks so much for the interest in that first video, and thanks to everyone who's here getting back on the ride nearly 3 years later. Also, look, the Doctor Who Season 1 video's coming, alright? It's just that that's a much bigger project for me and Uniwork's been kicking my ass again, and this was much easier to throw together quickly, but trust me, it's coming. And hey, at least I'll likely be able to include Joy to the World when that drops, eh? So without further ado, here's that original video of those first 4 rankings, followed by the rankings for Asdfmovie 5 and onwards. Welcome to every Asdfmovie ranked and reviewed. Let us begin. So in my JXE video, I said something you might remember about people's own artwork and passion projects. And personally, I've got all the time in the world for when YouTubers do long-form passion projects like this, pouring all their energy, all their essence into making a piece of content that they truly wanted to bring into the world. Something that's so well and truly them that only they could have set out to make that video and have it turn out in the exact way it did. Something that's well and truly the unique brainchild of that individual in that way. Love it, love it, love it a lot, all day, every day. And it's still true for all kinds of different projects. I think the beautiful thing about how people can share their own passion projects and brainchilds on YouTube, especially with something like, oh, I don't know, a comedic animation done by a couple of independent creators working with any budget and just making whatever they can, is how it can provide a unique look into someone's identity and who they are through things like their own unique art style, their brand of humor, their writing structure. Pretty much, we're all the same, yet all different, in a beautiful and uniquely profound way that we can take for granted sometimes. Those differences being influenced by things like your childhood, how you were raised, the things you've been through, good and bad, the things you liked and disliked, the media you consumed, what you learned as you got older, and none of these are the same for any 2 people. If 2 kids exactly the same age live right next to each other on the same street in the same town, went to the same schools together, were best friends growing up, had the same circle of friends, studied the same subjects, and went on to take the same college degree, so pretty much living identical lives on the surface, there'd still be so many countless different factors at play that would still make their lives completely different and unrecognizable from each other. Like their relationships, their personalities, their upbringings, the things they liked. And that's why I find those kind of artworks so special, as they can only have come from your mind at that time with all your lifelong history behind it, and it illustrates all of that in a fascinating way. Now with this video's pretentious as fuck thesis statement behind me, enter one Thomas Tomska Ridgewell, creator of the Asdfmovie series. An average guy on the surface, but a guy I find so damn interesting, really relate to, and I'm a massive fan of. As someone myself who as a kid always used to draw shitty funny cartoons and doodles for fun to try and make people laugh, sometimes even tried to make shitty short films by drawing cartoons in MS Paint, stringing the images together in Windows Movie Maker, typing captions in to add dialogue and burning the completed video to DVDs to show my classmates in primary school, yes, that's actually something primary school George did, and try my hand at filming stupid videos and short films on different occasions with friends as a child. Someone like Tomska was pretty much exactly who young George wanted to be. A guy who'd perfected his independent animation so much to the point that he could release fun short animations on YouTube that people would love and get a kick out of. A guy who, because of the awesome friends he'd made in school and uni, had people to film the silly short film ideas he'd come up with and be able to show them off online, and had put the effort in to make his projects all the more professional with real budgets and sets and costumes and design work and professional editing, all with the help of the friends he'd made along the way. And while I was never a committed superfan or anything and haven't religiously watched everything in his catalogue, the guy's essentially lived young George's dream, and I defo looked up to him for a long while growing up. And like many people who grew up around the time I did, I of course became a fan of the guy's most iconic and successful series, Asdfmovie. Asdfmovie is something that really needs no introduction, other than just to how perfect it was for the time of its inception. Going back to 2008, when YouTube was only a couple of short years old and still had the broadcast yourself tagline, and when a million other dickheads like me weren't just making their own brand of cookie cutter rant sona content. Look, I'm not a rant sona, okay? I'm nice and smiley and calm. I don't rant about anything, and if I did, it wouldn't even be successful. Ignore that. Instead, people are using the platform for just that, broadcasting themselves. Anyone who was bored just looking to turn on their camera and have a quick laugh, or a way to give others a quick laugh. If they'd had a creative itch and just wanted to make something fun and post it somewhere, or had caught someone falling over and injuring themselves on camera and wanted a backup plan in case they couldn't get the £250 from Harry Hill for it. All these people and more were uploading to the site for those plain, pure, simple reasons. And people would log on to the site, see what funny, interesting shit they could find, and the perfect thing for that landscape was this. A not even 2-minute animated reel of quick few-second sketches with a simple animation style paired with this dry, deadpan, ironic twinge with a sprinkle of the mid to late 2000s lol random XD palette of humour, all cheaply thrown together for fun by just a couple guys, and it was perfect for its time and practically destined to go viral. The series would get subsequent sequels, become more and more iconic, and would go on to be tomska's baby to this day, with the newest entry Asdfmovie 15 coming out just earlier this year. And to loop back around to what I was saying earlier, it's crazy how this series managed to contribute to the scene of internet humour, even just humour in general, especially my generation. Hearing kids in school quoting and laughing about Asdfmovie, showing each other the videos, making references to it in casual conversation and turning jokes from it into inside jokes with their peers was insanely common. And if you're watching this right now and you went to school during the 2000s and 2010s, chances are you've not only overheard a lot of this stuff yourself, but directly engaged in it. This series was so easy to fall in love with, so easy to like, and again, so perfect for its time that it went on to have such a massive reach and touch so many young lives. And it's crazy to think that what started being the unique brainchild of tomska's mind at the time ended up becoming one of the many millions of things contributing to their own humour and their own childhoods, and being one of the many factors that moulded our own lives, unique to us, adding on happy memories and giving them their own meaning. And that to me sums up what's so beautiful about us being able to share our own personal creations online and have them become successful from nothing like Tom and this series did, and that's why I'm such a big fan of it. Anyway, that's the sappy shit out of the way. There's my little justification for why I decided this should be the next little project I take on, and now I've got some YouTube content to make, boys. Asdfmovie's had a lot of entries. The series has been going for like 17 years after all, and while that first one was perfect for the time it came out, what about the entries that followed? How did the series adapt and evolve to changing times? How did it not? Well, we're going to look at that today and go through every Asdfmovie, review them and rank them from worst to best. I reckon we got some nice solid vibes going on here and we can have some fun with this, so lay back, relax, maybe grab a fridge cold can of Malibu Cola and let's just have some fun talking about the finer intricacies of some stupid webtoons. If that doesn't sound like a good time, then I don't know what does. For the most part, there's nothing I can say about the first Asdfmovie that wouldn't just be me repeating what I've already said in this video, but one thing that I can say is that it's incredibly charming. The visual style and how rough around the edges it is, the bad mic quality, and the fact that the animator had to change the aspect ratio mid-project being highly noticeable. The real personalized feel of the end credits, the fact that the entire voice cast consists of just 2 people, including tomska himself. It's funny as well because there's only 8 jokes in here, which feels like very little for the series by today's standards. And I think the reason for this is just how slow this thing is. Seriously, normally when you think of Asdfmovie, you think of how snappy and rapid fire the gags are, but in this there's a few silences that last multiple seconds. Granted, sometimes this does work in the joke's favour. And this clearly worked at the time because some of the most iconic Asdf gags are here, but there's also a couple of gags that are just what people stereotypically imagine the series is, things just happening just because. I mean, that's unfair. This is done well in plenty of gags, you know, it's all in the execution, and in multiple gags it's done in ways that are still kind of funny, you know, can get a mild chuckle or a hearty little nose exhale out of you. But for the most part, yeah, that's mainly what these jokes are, but in a real charming coat of paint that provides a real, authentic and earnest look into the mid to late 2000s YouTube landscape, and that's probably what I get the most out of the first Asdfmovie, you know, seeing how far we've come. It's starting out at the bottom of the list, but also the top. Hell yeah. One thing I can give Asdfmovie 2 right out the gate, and I don't actually know if anyone will agree with me on this, but it's my honest take. 2 in terms of visual presentation is the best in the series. Pretty much all the other entries from here on out, and even the first one to an extent, are made up of quite still straight lines that when they curve for things like mouth movements still look very digital and mechanical, whereas 2 looks so stylized, lots of curved lines and some of the most expressive looking characters so far in the series, with each frame of facial expressions looking hand-drawn, which I don't think they even are, but it helps the characters look probably the most expressive they've ever looked. But as for the actual jokes and humour, 2's also up there. The jump up in quality is palpable. Not even a year and a half and the humour's already evolved a good bit. Now, we still don't need the joke to end on a character pulling a scared reaction face to what's happening, that's still unnecessary, but for the most part the pace has been really tightened up and it shows, because we've shot up from 8 jokes to an additional 7 on top of that. And that's something this entry nails: comedic timing. Even when the joke is something really stupid happening, the comedic timing is executed perfectly, letting it catch you off guard in a way that's genuinely funny. Jokes like Pie Flavored Pie, the I Like Trains trilogy, and Desmond the Moon Bear alone being perfect examples of that, all iconic Asdf gags for a reason. And while sure we haven't yet reached the point of the humour evolving past goofy random things happening, there's still somewhat of a logical through line to the jokes. Somewhat. Guy is allergic to, quote, adorableness, he gets a cute kitten thrown in his face.
Aww.
And he dies. Sure, still ridiculous, but there's a logical through line there that helps it flow from point A to point B, as do most of the gags here, and it's a great evolution of Asdf 1's formula. That fact and the emphasis on timing here and the visuals just being the best in the series is what allows it to really shine. Plus, of course, the cast of voices here. We've got a few new names, and yeah, they're all super talented. The perfect marriage for this kind of comedy is comedic timing and great line delivery, and Asdf 2 has that in spades. I love this one. Top of the list so far, though admittedly that wasn't exactly hard to accomplish. But how will the next one fare? Pretty much everything I praised Asdfmovie 2 for, you can also do for 3 to an extent. It's still great and internet iconography levels of funny. I mean, of course it is, it's Asdfmovie 3, one of the most iconic and loved entries in the series. But I don't know, it still manages to feel like a bit of a step down from 2. Visually, the elements of what I love about 2 are still kind of there, and there's therefore a big apparent step towards the entirely digital and very straight-lined and simplified style of the visuals that we'd end up seeing from the next entry onwards. And in terms of the jokes themselves, there's plenty of iconic stuff here. The pace is still nice and tight and snappy, but I don't know, this one just doesn't quite hit as hard for me. It actually feels somewhere directly between how the first one handled its humour and how the second one did, if that makes any sense. I don't know, it probably doesn't. But a lot of the jokes feel like something you'd see in the first one in terms of how it functions and what it is, but approached in the way that the second one would in terms of how it's paced and presented. Yeah, I think that's it. Funnily enough, there's actually something I noticed about this one that didn't feel quite as present in the previous 2, and it's the fact that a lot of the jokes, instead of being a quirky thing happening to a character, the quirky thing that happens comes from the interactions between characters, usually playing off of their dialogue or their actions towards each other. The very first joke, the new dog joke, being a good example. And Tom himself has actually gone on record as saying that he found this joke, which was submitted by a fan, to be the funniest joke that had been in the series so far, and while I don't know how many of these jokes have been made beforehand, it does make sense that many of the following jokes would follow suit.
The new dog joke. When I had a competition for someone to write an Asdfmovie joke, and their joke was funnier than any of the other jokes in the actual episode. Fuck.
Examples being, well, literally every joke in the video. Legit, go watch it. Every single one of them is like this. Joey, did you eat my sandwich? Here, hold this. Salad punching, screw gravity, goodbye world, and the rest of them. Not to, of course, say that the previous 2 didn't have plenty of this either, because they both did. There were also plenty of jokes of multiple characters, but the gag not necessarily stemming from how they played off each other. But I don't know, it was interesting to notice this, and I see it as actually quite a big step forward in terms of how the comedy is approached, which is good because there was plenty more of this in the episodes that followed. This one's going below Asdfmovie 2 for me. And speaking of an episode that followed, there's always been one thing that stood out to me about Asdfmovie 4, and that's the fact that it was the episode to discover colour, specifically red. There are quite a few jokes to involve a bloody death, or at least a malicious act of violence being committed against another character. In fact, something I remember picking up on even as a kid was that towards the end of the episode, every joke from I am a stegosaurus to banana fight containing either a character being killed, a gun pointed at a character or used on a character, blood, or all of the above, with 3 of those 5 consecutive jokes featuring blood and 3 of them featuring use or wielding of a gun. Now, Asdfmovie 3 did have a tiny bit of blood in it when one character gets shot, but here it's really on display and honestly really sticks out with just how present present it is here. Not that that necessarily means anything good or bad, of course, it's just an interesting detail. Even Tom seems to think that this was a little bit overdone here, or was at least somewhat out of place, just a bit.
No, in a fight. Yeah, let's try a little harder. It's funny. So Asdfmovie 4 definitely has a few dud beats in it, like just jokes that I'm trying too hard on. Really the ones that are just someone getting shot in the face. I don't know why I was like, the shooting in the face one was funny from the last one, let's just do that some more.
Other than that, Asdfmovie 4 is another banger. I don't think it quite reaches the highs of Asdfmovie 2, but there's still plenty of iconic jokes, and I actually think it has some of the most quotable we've seen in the series thus far. I'm gonna do an internet, pianos, this is a robbery, I wanna be a pie, I stole your face, you are a chair darling, I am a stegosaurus. And we're seeing even more of the quote-unquote randomness being a bit less random and more actually stemming from the base of a joke being taken to its extreme and twisted to create an actual functional gag. That process has definitely started to become really refined here. This entry was also the debut of the iconic Asdfmovie animation style that we'd see continue to be used for a very long time and only start to be replaced in the most recent 2 entries. And while I personally prefer how Asdfmovie 2 and to an extent 3 looked, I can't deny that it's great and an iconic style that suits the series to a T. It's great, popping this one right above Asdfmovie 3 but below Asdfmovie 2. So Asdfmovie 5 is pretty significant for multiple reasons. Firstly, because it's the one that I finally returned to this ranking with. I'm sorry. But it's the last of what I personally consider to be the classic era of Asdfmovie, and it's also the one that I first remember coming out. When I was first introduced to Asdfmovie, the first 4 already existed. They had always been a package deal up until this point, and I can still weirdly remember exactly where 11-year-old me was and what I was doing that day back in 2012 when this first came out. Which is why it's a shame to say that this one really isn't my favourite. Other than the first one with its janky timing by our standards, this is the classic Asdfmovie with the least jokes that stick in my mind and I still find memorable and still laugh at to this day. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple. There's Play That One, No Way Dude You Always Beat Me, Warning Ledge, and Ducks, but other than that, none of these jokes are really all that funny to me. Even Mineturtle, the next iconic Asdf gag introduced after I Like Trains, even back in the day, I never really found all that funny. It's not like a joke with him is ever even really set up or followed through, it's just that there's a turtle that's also a mine and explodes. And that's pretty much it. This is also the main example I can think of an entry in the series that feels less like its own entry and more feels like very much like a sequel to the last Asdfmovie, if that makes sense. It feels very much like one that's become aware of its success. It's hyper aware of what Asdfmovie is known to be with its randomness and wackiness and trying to replicate that as best and hardest as it can, and didn't pull it off as well as most of the previous ones that were instead very much trying to stand on their own. The fact that there's even multiple direct callbacks to jokes from previous entries does kind of help reinforce that for me. I can't rank it at the bottom because it's still an improvement over 1, but I can't rank it much higher than that. It's going above the first Asdfmovie. Now that will make the next entry all the more jarring. Okay, so I'm just going to lay all my cards out on the table here. Asdfmovie 6 is my favourite in the series. Really. A massive 180 compared to the last one, I know, but while not every single joke here hits, this to me is the one that just gets everything right. It has what for me are some of easily the most quotable jokes in the entire series. Punch your face in the face, you got a license for that, knock knock, carrots, puppy with a knife. And this one nailed the funny, unexpected line deliveries that catch you off guard. The aforementioned I'm going to punch your face and the you lied to me in carrots. The puppy with a knife's no I don't. The burgers I used to be a cow. And I have no idea how to breathe. And various other moments that still catch you off guard and are still so funny. And what's this? A Mineturtle joke that's actually funny? Hell yeah, shame that isn't the case in Mineturtle's actual episode. This one just strikes the perfect balance between the wackiness from the previous entries with the jokes having a logical through line or at least having merit outside of their wackiness with funny line deliveries or catching you off guard in some discernible way other than just wacky for wackiness' sake. Other than this one being peak, I don't even have much more to say except that this one's also significant for returning to the art style that we first saw in Asdfmovie 4 and standardizing it for the series to come until very recently, and being the first of what I call the middle era of Asdfmovie. The way I see it, there's basically 3 eras: the classic era, middle era, and modern era, and this one kicks the middle era off with a bang. And yeah, if you somehow couldn't tell, I love this one, it's going right to the top of the list, and I think it deserves to be there. Next. After the glowing tongue bath I just gave Asdfmovie 6, you might think it'd be a bit of a tough act to follow, but no, thankfully Asdfmovie 7 is actually more of the same. Granted, it doesn't quite hit as high highs, it still features everything that I praised Asdfmovie 6 for, I just don't think it has quite as many really memorable jokes as Asdf 6. In fact, I think 2 and 3 might have more. But it still follows all the merits of 6 and is a worthy follow-up. And it actually does have my #1 favourite joke in the entire Asdfmovie series.
Hey baby, are you an angel? Cause I'm allergic to feathers.
Look, I don't know why that's my favourite, I just remember how much it killed me with laughter when I first saw it. Do any of us know why our favourite Asdf joke is our favourite? Because I mean, if you do... actually, okay, never mind. I'm literally analysing and ranking these things. I cannot talk about overthinking. But yeah, continuing with the great line deliveries and great methodology to the jokes, a charming new addition to the roster of recurring characters with the suicidal muffin. We even get a good sequel to the Do the Flop guy, who I do like, but isn't even my favourite recurring Asdf character, and I didn't even mention him just now when discussing 6, just shows how good 6 is even aside from its recurring gag. Also, on rewatch, a couple things stood out to me. For one, we're getting a lot more diversity in voices now, which is really neat, and also this is easily the most fast-paced one so far. Seriously, this thing is lightning fast, and it definitely benefits from that. It's also significant for giving us the Asdfmovie world rendered in full colour and canonically confirming that they're just always naked with their little nips out. Unironically, you had to be there. This was a genuinely massive what the fuck moment at the time. I can comfortably rank this one near the top. For now, I'm going to place it just between Asdfmovie 4 and 2, but it and 4 could genuinely swap places at any time. It might on any given random day, you ask me. And we finally broken the curse of the odd-numbered Asdf movies, but how will the next even-numbered entry do? Once again, I'm happy to say that Asdfmovie 8 does keep the current train rolling. It's definitely becoming a trend since Asdfmovie 6, having exactly what's good about the previous, you know, great and funny line deliveries.
Oh no! Giant flying sheep! Those are clouds.
Jokes that maintain the wackiness but still with great setups and punchlines and being super quotable, but those aspects diminishing ever so slightly and having slightly less memorable standouts. But there's something quite interesting to note about it. Now, this was always something present in the series, yet this is the first one, at least I noticed, that began to really rely on wordplay for a few of its jokes. This will become a running thing that my feelings get complicated on as we go along, but here it's used really well, makes for some really clever jokes. I love you baby, afraid of backstories, even the cow pretending to be a man, who might be one of my favourite recurring characters, is at first just an unexpected outcome and funny line delivery, but in his second and third jokes he comes on from some pretty clever wordplay. Plus, since I mentioned funny line deliveries, this one has some of my favourites. The baby's but mother I love him, the big baby's wah, pretty much any of Markiplier's bits in this, just to name a couple. This is also the one in which Kylie fucking Minogue voices a character. I still have no clue how the hell tomska secured that. As for the other jokes, there's some kind of forgettable dud beats and some good ones that still catch you off guard. We're heading a little further down the ranking, but I can still comfortably say I like this one. I think I'm gonna drop it just below 7 and above 4. But just like the last one, it could probably swap with 4 any other random day you ask me. These are getting weirdly hard to rank now. So let's see how I'll struggle to rank the next one. So Asdfmovie 9 is a bit of a weird one for me at the moment, because we've been on a good streak for a while now, yet this one just doesn't quite match up. Don't get me wrong, it has its funny moments. Walk down the road, she's mine now, John. The stairs, honey, I'm pregnant. I think we should just be friends. I wonder what this does. And yeah, out of the 17 jokes, that's it. Those are the funny ones. The rest of the offerings here are just kind of white noise. A lot of these just don't really have anything going on and aren't all that memorable. Asdfmovie 9 is, at least in my opinion, the most forgettable entry in the series. Every time I go back to it, it's like I'm watching it for the first time all over again, but not in a good way, but because I can never remember anything about it. And that's kinda it, really. That's all I can really say about it before moving on. Nothing even really all that significant to point out. I think on the whole I found it a little funnier than 5, but that's kinda the best words I can give it, and that's it really. Oh well, I guess. However, one thing I can say is that it rounds off what I call the middle era of Asdfmovie, and aside from that minor dud at the end, it's a really strong period for the series. It followed up on its classic run and proved that for the most part it can still shine. We're now going on to what I consider the modern era of Asdfmovie, and we'll see how that goes, but for now, yeah, Asdfmovie 9 goes near the bottom of the ranking between 5 and 3 for me. But let it be known that there's a big jump between 9 and 3. 1, 5 and 9 are the meh ones, and everything up from that is at least good. So, let's see where 10 ends up. So I'm once again just gonna dive right in. Asdfmovie 10 is the worst one. There are count them, 3 jokes I liked in this one. The ball, is this you, and I don't want to be fat anymore. The rest are just like Asdfmovie 9 but worse, just barely anything going on, nothing really memorable or quotable or of note. I mean, that's not quite true, we do get one thing of note in that we get a look at a 3D rendered Asdfmovie character, but it's less funny and more just an interesting one-off thing that happens. Oh, and also, you know how a couple entries ago I mentioned that my feelings on wordplay jokes in the series would get complicated? Well, it's here in 10 that comes to a boil, because there are so many jokes in this thing that are built on a specific brand of wordplay, that being literal outcomes. You want a piece of me, who's ready to draw, transgender guy, child murderers, cannonball, all from this one, and that doesn't sound like a lot when I'm listing them, but in a series like Asdfmovie, where it's a short compilation of quick jokes, it ends up feeling like a big percentage of them. And literal outcomes aren't an inherently bad joke, they're fine to sprinkle around here and there and can catch you off guard, but when they're such a big portion of the episode, they lose their impact very quickly. We also get what's, at least in my opinion, one of the worst triplet gags in Beep Beep I'm a Sheep, because it's not even really a gag, it's just that there's a song, and they do the song. And that is it. Like, don't get me wrong, the songs are bop, but there have been songs made based on Asdf gags before. I Like Trains, Mineturtle, and Do the Flop all got one. Yet with this, it felt more like the song was already a thing and was reverse engineered into an Asdf gag to basically just advertise a song. And it doesn't make for a funny bit, really. Yeah, it's sad, but Asdfmovie 10, first of the modern Asdf movies, bottom of the ranking. Hopefully it's only up from here. Before I get into my overall thoughts on Asdfmovie 11, I want to point out something in this one that's not really an introduction to the series, but does feature prominently in a way it didn't before, and will become a mainstay of the series going forward, and is a really welcome addition to how Asdf movies are made going forward, and I'm glad to see. And that's the very frequent use of some really good and really cool frame-by-frame animation in this. It features in most of the jokes and becomes a regular thing here on out, and it's really well done and definitely earns it some points. We've got a frame-by-frame transformation, muzzle flash, car vomiting, tears, and boobs, just to name a few. It adds a great new layer to the series animation that doesn't feel out of place, yet helps step things up in a really good way. As for the Asdf movie itself, it's definitely a big improvement over 10, but we're in pretty middling territory, which with how much I love these is still going to put it close to the bottom of the ranking. For starters, the overuse of really lame takes on literal outcomes, for example car sick, made you jump, and hey baby, are ones that even in the couple seconds they last you can still see coming a mile away. And Giant B was always, well, crap. But it's still a big improvement because we've also got some really funny ones here. Magic Word, Boys Don't Cry, What's That Behind Your Ear, I'm a Doctor, and Best Sarcasm are all really funny standouts for me. But then there's also a lot of stinkers, in some cases literally. I'm going to be 100% honest with you here, the first time I watched this when it was new, the farting butt gags did tickle me with how out of left field they caught me. But now, yeah, it's definitely the worst triplet gag in the series. It's only really going to catch you off guard the very first time and just kind of sucks after that, along with some other stinkers. This one basically feels like Asdfmovie 9 with some of the flaws of 9 and 10 still holding it back. I'll comfortably place it in the ranking below Asdfmovie 9 but above Asdfmovie 5. And onward we go. If I was being serious about ranking Asdfmovie 12, I'd put it as the best one because the anime intro goes hard as fuck, like it's so cool and definitely took up most of the animation work. But I'm not being serious, I'm being me. So Asdfmovie 12 is a weirder beast than it should be because it follows in Asdfmovie 11's footsteps of being an improvement over the previous and still having plenty to like in it. But this and the last couple entries have the same problem of its best jokes being good but not having anywhere near the memorability, quotability, or staying power as the series' best. One notable thing that it does give us is what I'm pretty sure is the longest Asdf gag, at least in a long time, in the form of You're Fired. A really funny and chaotic back and forth that I really do love. Beyond that, we have jokes like the opening Keep Pushing, Dad I'm Gay, A Knife, I Wish People Would Be Nice to Me, Can Your Girlfriend Do This, Johnny Big Feet, This Is Not My Arm, and I'm Leaving You Jerry that are funny and I do like, but you know what I mean? They just don't come close to the heights of the best ones we've seen so far and just aren't as memorable. I can also tell that there's a conscious effort to move away from the repetitive literal outcomes. We do get hit by a car, which is just lame, but there's also Hey and Oh No a Gunman. Hey is saved by the really funny way the horse just speeds in, and Oh No a Gunman is saved for me by the gunman's oh ho ho I'm gonna stab ya. And beyond that, it's just a bit of white noise again, including the waffle for me. He's charming enough, but I can see why he's just a twin gag rather than a the triplet gag, there's not much to him outside of goofy voice that says silly things. However, it was here that the Muffin Time game came into the world, which I do have and have played with friends a lot. It's a really fun party game that's definitely worth recommending. Really excited to get my hands on Don't Press That Mine Turtle when I can. On the whole, it's an improvement over 11, but it's not going to reach into the realm of the really iconic stuff. I'll rank it above 9 and below 3. We've gone up a couple rungs, I suppose, so at least that's something. Now, I'm very excited to talk about Asdfmovie 13, because after the last few pretty meh entries, this was finally the one that had me like, oh yeah, we are so back. Finally, this is another really good one, just in case anybody started thinking I'm biased against the new ones. When watching these back for this video, a lot of them haven't elicited big reactions out of me, didn't get much more than a chuckle or a giggle, like the older ones because I've just seen them so many times, and the last few that were pretty mid. But this is the first one while making this video that had me laughing out loud again. With Defo stepped out of the rut, and not to sound like an overbearing Rick and Morty fan, but it feels like we're getting classic Asdfmovie adventures like in the old days. Lots of great gags, funny line deliveries, and out-of-pocket moments like High 500, which is one of my favourite opening gags in the whole series. Come out with your hands up, about your new girlfriend, I love you, that's my boy, what's for dinner, hello son, are you ready to die, what kind of dog is he, we got you on camera, and oh my god. All great Asdf gags that are memorable again. Asdfmovie has refound the source. I gotta say, there are moments where it does feel like it's trying a bit too hard to bring back the classic feel of Asdfmovie, like Hey Mr. Goose, where literally the entire joke is just the fact that a character commits suicide, or Whale Dance, which just kind of feels random for the sake of random, and there's a few other jokes that don't really stick with me. But there's quite a lot of notable things here. For starters, we get the quote perfect Asdf joke from that video Tomska made being included in the series proper, which to be honest I'm not super big on, but it's notable. We also have a long awaited and quite funny return of DJ Flop. We get a really cool and actually pretty clever callback to the first Asdfmovie joke from all the way back in 1, and for the first time in a long time we've got a divergence to a new art style. This time we've got sharper, more angular shapes on the characters, especially the mouths, and smaller eyes which give a more condensed look to the faces, and more experimenting with line thickness, and I actually really like this new style. I'll always have a love for the art style we'd seen up until this point that started in Asdfmovie 4, but I think this one suits the series really well. I'll be happy to see this style become the standard going forward. And speaking of the art, the cool frame by frame we've been seeing regularly since Asdfmovie 11 is still going strong, which is great to see. But yeah, Asdfmovie 13 is a banger, and a long overdue one too. I've ummed and ahed about where to rank this one, specifically if it outranks 3, 4, 7, and 8, and well, this is something I could definitely change my mind about any other day, but right now I'm feeling confident. 13's going above them, above Asdfmovie 7 and below Asdfmovie 2, which gets it into the top 3 so far. 13 was good. Will this upward streak continue? Let's find out, baby. So there's something kind of important to address about Asdfmovie 14, and it's that we've now arrived in the era of sponsorships being integrated into them that sometimes contain their own jokes. Now that can make the ranking a little bit awkward because it brings up the question of what to bring into consideration and what not to, so the rule that I'll set is that I'll only take into consideration the jokes that work on their own without the sponsorship. In which case there's only one, that being Can I Play With My Friends, which hey, it's a good one. And speaking of good one, I'm happy to say that Asdfmovie 14 is yet another one of those. You know, a good one. I don't think it quite reaches Asdfmovie 13's level, it's definitely going to be ranked below it, but honestly not by much, because pretty much everything I praised about 13 is present here too. We're back to very memorable gags with good jokes and funny deliveries and twists, like Somebody Order a Large Pizza, Taco Tuesday, Look Honey, Broccoli Soccoli, Speak to Your Manager, Egg, Four-Eyed Freak, Spelling Test, and especially Get Out of My Sandwich, which, snap, yep, that one's going in my vocal stim compilation. Also, the death triplet gag shouldn't tickle me as much as it does, but just the bell sound and the hard cut to the character being dead is so simple yet so effective. I love it. One interesting thing about this one is that we've still got the new art style, yet it's also sharing space with the pre-Asdfmovie 13 style, like it's half and half between them, which feels weird and a little jarring. It obviously doesn't break it or anything, it's just worth noting. And there's also a few dud jokes that don't do much for me, but on the whole, yeah, it's another good one that just slightly falls short of the previous, so I think I'm fine dropping it just below 13 on the ranking. Which means we've now reached what the newest Asdfmovie was when I made the original video, which is weird because there's only been one since, so when you think about it like that, the gap wasn't actually that long. Nearly 3 years? Pfft, no, one Asdfmovie. Fuck you. Speaking of which, we're here. The final Asdfmovie, the newest one. How does it fare on the ranking? Let's find out. know Asdfmovie 15 just makes me happy. I mentioned before with 13 how it's the first one to have me still laughing when watching these back for this video, but man, that's even more true with this one. Basically, it once again features everything I praised about Asdfmovie 13 and 14 with one key difference. See, even with all the praises, most of these Asdf movies, bar the top few, have at least a couple to a few gags that don't do it for me or I don't really care about. Yet here, I can honestly say that every single one sticks out to me. Sure, not every single one is laugh out loud hilarious, but every single gag works at least a little bit for me. I love a lot of these. I'm not gonna list them purely because, well, I'd have to list all of them. There isn't a dud here for me. Modern Asdfmovie has really found its stride after fumbling at first. Even Johnny the fucking Truck, which shouldn't work for me for the same reason the farting butt gags in 11 don't work, just stupid for stupid's sake. Yet here, and I may be reading too deeply into it, but that feels very deliberate here. Johnny the Truck feels like a parody of the over-the-top stupid try-hard recurring Asdfmovie gags. Just unassuming situation, rudely interrupted by, I don't know, fucking Johnny the Truck. Smashes into them. Why the fuck not?
Johnny the Truck!
Plus Tom singing it with his little title card. Again, maybe it's not deliberate and I'm looking too deeply into it, but it feeling like a self-aware parody really works for me. Also, the fact that the That's Classified guy only got one of his gags in here and the second one got delegated to the deleted scenes sucks so much. He's great. I love him and his wife. I wish nothing but the best for them. But yeah, I'm really happy with Asdfmovie 15. It was scary for a while there, waiting as long as we did for it, 3 years, but we got it and it was great. I don't know if we'll be getting more Asdf movies after this, but being completely honest, if this is the last one we ever get, as much as I'd like to get another one in a year or two and another one around the time of Asdfmovie's 20th anniversary in 2028, if we don't and this is the last one, I would honestly be okay with that. We'd be going out with a bang. Not gonna lie, I'm placing it between Asdfmovies 2 and 6. It breaks second place, which I doubt anyone expected, but here we are. The newest Asdf movie is a banger. And with that, we have ranked every Asdf movie from worst to, oh wait, there's the deleted scenes. Alright, bonus ranking time, let's get through these quick. Asdfmovie 2 deleted scenes maintains the visual style I love about Asdf 2, but on the whole these jokes are pretty mid. The only one I really like is oh no I spilled my milk, the rest are just okay. Asdfmovie deleted scenes, or as it really should be called, Asdfmovie 7 or 8, whichever one it was, deleted scenes, a pretty mixed bag. The letter one's okay, suddenly pineapples tickles me more than it should, as does haha now you're blind, and the resolution to you know who's gay is great. The rest are just ranks above Asdf 2 deleted. Asdfmovie 12 deleted scenes, mostly pretty mid gags, but another really good gag with the cow, and the rougher, looser animation on a lot of them is really charming and helps with the delivery. Ranks between the previous two. Asdfmovie 15 deleted scenes, a really good compilation of extra scenes. Pretty much all of them are just as good as the gags in the actual Asdf 15, and again, I really wish the second That's Classified gag was also in the actual thing. Plus, the jokes integrated into the sponsor are really good on their own while being tangentially related, especially the chicken. I love the chicken. Also, diversity win for,
What are you, gay?
yeah, ranks as easily the best deleted scenes. And there we go. With that, that's every Asdf movie ranked and reviewed. We finally fucking did it. So from worst to best, in my oh so humblest of opinions, we have Asdfmovie 10, Asdfmovie, Asdfmovie 5, Asdfmovie 11, Asdfmovie 9, Asdfmovie 12, Asdfmovie 3, Asdfmovie 4, Asdfmovie 8, Asdfmovie 7, and in my top 5 we have Asdfmovie 14, Asdfmovie 13, Asdfmovie 2, which I'll admit does feel a little weird because 13 and 14 are probably funnier by today's standards, but those old jokes are so iconic for me, as is that visual style, and you know, my opinion, I love it, it's one of my favourites, is how it is. Asdfmovie 15, and my number one favourite to this day, Asdfmovie 6. I am so sorry it took me as long as it did to follow through on this. I mean, who the fuck am I, Emperor Zarakar reviewing The Legend of Korra? No, because I actually finished this.
Johnny the Truck!
A big thanks to the few people who actually waited this long up until this point. Believe it or not, I've seen those comments, they very much do exist. And just generally thank you to everyone who subbed to the channel and puts up with how long it always takes me to get around to uploading. Seriously, it means a hell of a lot to me that there are genuinely people out there who enjoy watching the stuff I make, and I'm so grateful, even if there still aren't a crazy amount of them. Though it's only a matter of time our numbers are only increasing. I still haven't completely nailed down the type of content I make outside of the broad scope of video essay/review content, but if you enjoy my style anyway, there's plenty more for you to watch if you have an interest in any of the topics I've covered. After the Smiling Friends video resonated as well as it did, I want to try and diversify a little more while still covering the autistic special interest of mine that is Doctor Who, so stay tuned. Plenty more to come. I also promise it won't be 3 years till you next see me. And thank you so much for watching, all you BEA beautiful people, however many of you there may be, and I will see you.
Johnny the Truck!